Kirsten's son was abused by his foster carer. He had been starved, and at 18 months was the weight of a newborn. Both wrists were broken, his elbow was broken, and his arms had cigarette burns. Kirsten had begged Child Protection to check on him and was ignored for 2 months. Finally, they listened, and he was put in hospital and just survived his injuries. The foster carer was charged and sentenced for 5 years. However, she never served this time and was given probation. Although there was an outcry from the media and the public, no one in Child Protection was charged or disciplined over this case. Kirsten and her partner were punished for speaking out. Their parental rights were removed, and their children were put up for adoption. They haven't seen their children for 2 years. I'll put a link in the description to the video where she tells her story, and I highly recommend you watch this. Take your time thinking about it if you like, because usually I send the questions to people before the interview, and I know your case come up on my feed, and I just wanted to jump on this one. So, yeah. So, what's the worst thing that Child Protection has ever said to you?
The worst thing that they have ever said. Honestly, this is actually kind of hard. There was actually 2.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing I ever had to deal with was watching my rapist get my daughter.
Oh.
And
Wow.
then just later to find out after I go through evidence myself that he's not even the biological father.
Wow.
So that was very hard. And losing my rights to her for trying to keep him away from her. It's actually, there's different things with each child. With my son that was hurt, the hardest thing I had to deal with was his attorney, and them all laughing at me, calling me an alpha because I got upset that they were making my son call his foster mother, who gave him up many times because she couldn't handle his special needs, who got him back, mommy. We weren't allowed to question these foster parents. We weren't really even allowed to be like, we're the parents. This is how things go. I lost phone calls with my kids, visitations, because I refused to acknowledge that these foster parents are like a mom to my kids. Like, I refused to be okay with my son calling his foster mom mommy. So, and it really bothered me. And he's like, oh, you're getting upset about a little thing. I was like, no, I'm not.
It is a big thing.
They did everything. They forced us to encourage the bonds with these foster parents who have given them up so many times, who have physically or emotionally harmed them. They denied us the ability to comfort our children, because with my kids, they just were like, mommy, we want to come home. We don't understand. We weren't allowed to tell them that they would always have a place with us. We weren't allowed to say, yeah, we got a place for you whenever. We weren't allowed to do that. And a lot of families aren't. And the last day we seen our kids, trying to explain it to your kids that they never will see you again is very hard.
You had to say to your children.
They try to make us make memory books with our kids. And your kids are expecting to see you tomorrow or anything like that, and you have to just go along with it and just watch your kids be disappointed. You have to. So hard to explain.
So they stopped you seeing your children?
They make you lie to your children. They make you lie and say, and then they make you They try to make you write letters and saying that why they can't become home because mommy and daddy are bad.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
they literally make the parents take the fall. I supported my kids through the whole thing. And the fact that I send money to the foster parents, the fact that I send food to the foster parents, the fact that I bought toys, clothes, all their school supplies, I celebrated every holidays with my kids. Even that was frowned upon by the court system. It was made fun of by the attorneys. They're like, oh, well, who made you do that? And I said, no one made me do that. It's my job. But you would think they would encourage that and be like, she's really responsible. She understands that these kids' needs come first. No, it was used against us as a way to take our rights. Because we didn't save enough money in their eyes.
Oh, my goodness. So, how long is it since you've seen your children?
2 years.
A few
2 years for all of them, but the one that's been hurt, it's been 3 years. The one that went to my rapist, it's going to be 3 years. And the other 3, it's been 2.
Unbelievable. That must be really hard.
It is.
Okay, so, I mean, was evidence ever made up against you?
Their evidence, like, the best way I could explain it, it's really bizarre. I've had an analyst done by the National Child Welfare Reform to an analyst on my case, and even he was like, it's bizarre because some of the evidence they put into my file had nothing to do with me. I'm 28 years old, and the file was talking about a 46-year-old woman.
Oh, wow. So basically it's cut and paste.
It's other people's information. They made my rapist the father of my child, but their own evidence, their written evidence, says that he's not after 2 DNA tests. In the DNA test that he has, which really pisses me off in talking about stereotyping, the DNA test says he's 99.9% just a father because she's related to all white males.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
So everyone's their father.
Anybody that's white could be the daddy.
Oh my God.
According to that test. And I'm like, I'm full white. So I'm like, and my fiance is full white. So it's the stuff that they put parents through, and there was evidence like they even questioned my last name.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, is this really you? And I'm like, so you took my kids and you're not even sure of my last name?
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
They were trying to force me into mind-altering drugs. I mean, it's crazy.
Did they ever try to help you in your situation?
See, that's the thing. When no matter what we did, it was never good enough. Like, I've taken 37 parenting classes. I have gotten a reward from the state of Connecticut thanking me for all the work I have done for Connecticut's children. I'm a certified caregiver for the state of Connecticut. I have full custody of my special need little brother, but yet they're the ones that are my kids.
Wow.
The judge was telling me my classes weren't good enough, and I was like, I have pictures with our senators. Like, he was like, they're not good enough. He's like, you refuse to take medication. I said, I refuse to take medication because you're not telling me what it's for. You're trying to put me on some kind of mind-altering mood swing medication, but you're not telling me why. How's it going to make my parenting better? How's it going to make me better? And they're like, oh, well, you refuse to take Zoloft. Zoloft is an anxiety medication in depression. But yet it can make you very aggressive. And if you're pregnant, it could stop your baby's lungs from growing. And also, if you're breastfeeding, it could affect your child that way. And I was pregnant, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm not going to give my baby lung issues just because you want me to take drugs. No. And that's the thing. They gave my daughter not only to my rapist, but to the rapist who's been on drugs for 15 years. I mean, the very strong drugs like heroin, oxycodone.
I mean,
really
I'm assuming that your daughter isn't with him any longer. Is that correct?
No, she still is.
She's still with him, even though he's not the biological father.
Even though I explained, I was like, your own evidence says he's not the father. I went through the appellate court. I went through the Supreme Court in Connecticut. No one wants to listen when it comes to that.
That's crazy. Okay. Were you ever threatened by child protection? And if so, what was the threat?
We've had many threats over the years. We were even threatened by our own appointed attorneys. That's another reason I fired mine. Saying that if I didn't plead no contendere, if I said, you know what, I don't deserve this, let's take it to trial, I was going to go to jail.
Wow.
And I was like, jail for what? And he's like, you'll go to jail. I was like, they didn't prove anything. He's like, you'll still go to jail.
Wow. So he was trying to get you to just agree that with no contest that what they were saying was true.
No contrary wouldn't actually say that I agreed, according to him. It would say that I wasn't going to fight it. Which is bullshit, because I'll fight every damn freaking thing.
Good on you. All right. What's the worst accusation that they ever made against you?
The worst accusation we have ever faced was when they tried to turn my son's abuse onto us.
Yeah.
That, and they say that my fiance, who raised my oldest daughter, molested her. Which, again, no proof of that. I was like, did you do a test or anything? They're like, no. And I was like, well, then how do you know? They're like, oh, well, the foster parent said. And I was like,
Did they interview the child? Was there any forensic medical tests done?
No. But yet we missed weeks with our children. And the one time, I wasn't supposed to hear it, but the social worker still had me on speaker, and I don't think she remembers that she pocket dialed me. So when they're asking my daughter's like, Daddy didn't hurt me. Daddy didn't do nothing. What are you talking about? She was getting very upset about it. She's like, why are you lying? I never said that. And she was only 4.
Oh.
And they have put these kids through anything. They have stripped my kids in the middle of the night.
What? Why?
Yeah, they have taken pictures of my kids to put up on their foster care websites. I mean, they are disgusting.
No.
Yes.
Why did they strip the kids in the middle of the night?
Because apparently they wanted to make sure that there was no bruises or whatever.
And
this
is
in the middle of the night.
This is DCF that did this?
Yes.
Wow. How humiliating for your children. I mean, that's abuse. I mean, it's pure and simple abuse. Unbelievable. Oh, so my next question was, have your kids suffered abuse in care? And I mean, obviously your son did, but I mean, you really just answered that.
The others have too. Not only have they faced that, but my oldest daughter has had her whole arm covered with bruises, the shape of the foster parents' arms.
Oh, my God.
My kids' health has gone decline, where they've had to have surgery on their mouths. Since in foster care, they've had to have therapy, where apparently all their drawing, my daughter would flip out if she can't fit her entire family on one piece of paper. Because in her eyes, that's her way of keeping us together. If she doesn't fit us all on paper, we're not going to be together.
Sorry, that's really sad.
There's nightmares of Men in Black coming to get them, where I have to get calls in the middle of the night. They don't. don't realize what they put these kids through.
How can they not?
And neither do the people that they try to. I'm not even sure if my kids are adopted, but the people that adopted my kids, like, if they did, like, even they don't understand. Because if they
sorry,
did,
I've lost it. Oh. Okay. Have you... Oh, I'm so sorry for what has happened to you and your children. I really hope you get your children home. Have you ever been bullied or abused by a caseworker?
I've been emotionally threatened by my caseworkers, every single one of them, especially the males. During the hard things, especially with the no contendere plea, you had the supervisor come up to me and goes, "Oh, I'm glad you did what you did. I'm glad you signed that paper. You made our job so much easier." I'm like,
oh,
they are horrible. They're like, you can't treat the foster parents that way. You can't ask them questions. If you do, these meetings are over. They do everything. Even the kids' attorneys that are supposed to be looking out for them, like especially Brian Sadowski and Priscilla Hammond, they're horrible. They've never seen my kids in a visitation with me at all. And yet they're like, "Oh, well, it's in the best interest of the children." How do you know? Have you talked to my children? Like, our psychologist that we had, he even said, keeping me away from the kids forever and severing our rights would cause the children so much trauma and so much psychological harm. And especially since I was the one that looked out for them.
Yeah.
Through all this. I've been called crazy. I've been called unstable for protecting. You're punishing me for protecting.
I mean, anyone who speaks to you, like just speaking to you just through this interview, I mean, it's clear you're articulate, you're obviously hurting, and who wouldn't? But, what is going on? It's just crazy. Now, this next question is going to be difficult for you, so just a bit of a warning. But, for the people watching out there, can you describe to me what the grief is like of losing your children?
For one, people will tell you it gets better as the years go. It does not. Matter of fact, it gets worse. The nightmares, the looking at their pictures. I still get harassed by my rapist's family. Saying, "Oh, look at her. She's so much better without you." I don't get to see their pictures. You don't know if they're safe. You hear their voices just asking to come home. Your hatred completely grows. To the point where you're wishing nothing but complete harm on the people that have done this. You don't sleep well. Some people are forced to drink alcohol just to sleep. It's worse than death.
I'm so sorry. You've done so well, and I'm going to wind up now because we're both a mess. But thank you for being brave and speaking out about what's happening.
No problem.
It's been an honour to interview you, and as I said, I'm so sorry for what has happened to you and your children, and I hope that you get them home. So I'm going to stop recording now. Thanks.
Okay.
We do short and in-depth videos on child protection practices. We also interview parents who tell us of their experience with child protection, as well as interviews with experts in the field. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and visit our website. See our description for more links.